G'day guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome back for another episode of Wasteland Survival. So last week's episode I finished all of the modifications that I wanted to the Atlas. I increased its lifting capacity by quite a lot, and obviously we modified all the weapons to the Warfare 2 DLC Editions mod, which was created by Substitious. So yeah, overall I think I'm really happy with all the modifications that I've made. Now there is one tiny little thing that I want to change, and yeah, I know I've been going on with this for ages, but I swear this is the last thing that I want to do. So what I'm planning to do here is moving over this turret one more block, more so that it lines up with this block behind it, which would be this Gatling turret, and then also this Gatling turret here. So it is kind of too close to this missile launcher, and as you can see the barrel is pointing right up the backside of this missile launcher, which isn't really ideal, so I would like to move that over by one block. Now obviously previously, I mean, you could always do this in the game, but what I would have had to have done previously is go ahead and replace this block here with a conveyor junction, and then I would have to, like, so if I was to move this over, and let me just bring up my spectator camera here, you can see that I've got a conveyor junction here. I'd have to leave that conveyor junction and then put another one here so that the ship remained airtight. And then obviously you would kind of see that conveyor junction very similar to what you would see there, and it would just look ugly, and I wouldn't really do that because honestly, I'm sure you guys know me by now, but I really care about aesthetics quite a lot. So what I'm going to do though is I'm going to use one of these blocks here. Now as long as I place it like that, so with the port facing this way and then going down into the ship, and then putting, so let's place that there for example, and then we put like a conveyor junction next to that. I've got to turn off Bob for this, and then I place a conveyor junction there, then everything should be airtight because yeah. And then also looking at it from the top, you will barely even notice that that conveyor tube is there. So I think that's really nice, and I'm really loving those new blocks. Now if you guys remember, at the end of last episode we did get a visit from a Reaver, and he did a little bit of damage to this weapons tower here, although overall I'm really happy with how this stood up and how well Bob actually went ahead and repaired the damage, so I'm super stoked with that. However, there was a little bit of damage that I didn't notice before. Now I'll have to go back and check the recording and see exactly what's happened here, but basically, and I've turned on Bob so you can see these blocks are all good, but I think what's happened here is my own turret has fired upon my control tower to get to the enemy. Now, I do remember specifically testing this out because I was worried about this exact thing happening. So what I did is I created a creative world based upon this one, and I spawned a ship up there and made it my enemy, so that this control tower was directly behind that turret, just to see if it would actually fire through the control tower at the enemy. And it didn't. So the only time I have found these custom turrets to destroy things is when you have two custom turrets together, and like let's say I had another custom turret right next to this one and an enemy was behind both of them. This one would just fire straight through the other custom turret without even caring that it's there, and the only reason for that is because it's a subgrid. So considering this is my own grid, I don't think that's what has happened, unless of course that behavior has changed since I've tested it, but I don't think that is the case. I think what is the case though, and if I try and demonstrate this, so I'll sit in this control seat and we'll just control this turret here. Now I think the camera has a role to play here. So obviously you can see the crosshair is outside of my control tower. So if an enemy was right where the crosshairs are, then I'm assuming, and this is just me hypothesizing here, but I would assume that the custom turret controller would think it's okay to fire because it has clear line of sight on the enemy. However, if we jump out of here and then we follow the path of this gun, so let's just look at this thing and then just move straight back. and bang, I run into my control tower. So I think that's what has caused this damage. And it was a little bit clearer before these blocks got repaired, but as you can see, like, yeah, it's pretty clear that this gun is the culprit. So it's rather unlucky, I think, that the Reaver happened to spawn in that location and it just nicked the corner of the control tower. I guess the damage could have been worse, but yeah, that's just something you guys are going to have to look out for, as am I. So, alright, let's get started with these weapon modifications. Okay guys, well, I'm back and I have actually completed the modifications. I was going to do a bit of a time lapse of that, but I have changed my mind yet again. So yeah, as you can see, I've put in the armored conveyor tube up here, but it's leaving a little bit of a gap here and I'm not really too excited about that. And yeah, so what I ended up deciding to do is I want to spin around these O2H2 generators by 90 degrees. And then basically, if we have a look at this pipe here, this pipe actually connects these two rows of O2H2 generators together. There is nothing else that kind of connects them together. So what I'm thinking I will do is spin these around 90 degrees, and then the conveyor ports on the side will connect each row of these together. And then I can get rid of these pipes, and then where this conveyor junction is here will be where the conveyor port for this O2H2 generator will end up, and then it will all just look seamless, and then I can get rid of this pipe, I can get rid of this curved, this reinforced conveyor tube, and everything will look, you know, hunky-dory. Now, I actually did go ahead and perform this modification already on the blueprint, but obviously I didn't figure that out until I was creating the blueprint to upload to the workshop as part of the last episode. So yeah, I think overall that's going to be a much better solution. There is kind of one drawback to doing this though, and that is that there is a connection between this tank and this tank over there through this O2H2 generator. But there's also another connection here which I'm going to essentially lose when I do this whole modification. So it is a little bit of a minor drawback, but I don't think it's going to be too much of an issue. Like, it does add a bit of redundancy, it being the way that it is now, but at the same time, yeah, it kind of doesn't really... yeah, I don't think it will really matter too much in the long run. Also, what I went ahead and done was moved these two to be 90 degrees to kind of hide this conveyor port as well. So I did that too. And you know what? I guess while I'm here, I may even just move this one here, because like when we're walking through these stairs, you can kind of see that conveyor port there, and I don't really like looking at conveyor ports too much. So maybe I'll go ahead and I'll get rid of that one too, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. So, like I said, I've got this all done on the projection or the blueprint that I've uploaded to the workshop. So what I'll do is I'll project that through the projector that's built into the ship, and then we can go ahead and get started, because if I was to do this manually, I'd have to grind these away and rename them all, where I've already done all the hard work on that front on the blueprint, so I might as well just project that through and then grind them, re-weld them, and then it will be a really simple process. So let me get this projector set up, and then we can get these things welded up. Okay guys, so I've actually been away for a little bit in creative mode, and I decided to move these ones around as well, these O2H2 generators, and then this one as well, because if you guys remember a second ago, I was talking about this conveyor port and the fact that I would like it to be hidden. So I've moved all of these around. Now previously I did kind of flip these 90 degrees, but the conveyor port was kind of visible there. So I've actually flipped it 180 degrees this way as well, so that the conveyor port is now hidden underneath these, I can't remember what these things are called. They're steel catwalk plates. So, alright, let's get started with moving these things around. And there is actually yet another thing that I would like to change on this blueprint. So, alright, bear with me, guys. Okay, well that is all of the work complete on the outside at least, so, well, sorry, on the inside I meant. Oh, there's a block missing there, okay, that's why it's not pressurizing. So let's head on outside and get the turrets built. So, as I mentioned before, there is another small little change I would like to make. As you can see here, the connector basically sits here, and I've had to move these blocks back a little bit, but the thing is that the ships that I kind of park on top of this thing aren't really, the connector isn't really in a good position. So let me just grab one of my mining ships and I'll bring it over to the Atlas and I'll kind of show you what I mean. Okay, so I've got the mining ship kind of lined up to where the connector would be. So you can see that if I lower it down, then it's kind of fine in terms of the distance from the ship to this point here. So that's all good. But the problem is now that I've got these turrets moved in a little bit more and kind of closer to the front, then the ship is going to kind of hit. Now I could just kind of spin it around, but what I've decided to do instead is actually, so I'll just turn this thing off. So what I've decided to do is actually connect the ship here. So we're gonna have to drill or grind a hole here basically and grind that away. So basically here we have our hydrogen tank, so I'm just going to put in 2 conveyor junctions, and then on top of that I'm going to put my connector, and then I'm going to get rid of this connector here.
Inventory
and it looks like my inventory is full. That's alright, let's just empty it real quick.
Fuel low.
So we'll empty these things, and I've got low fuel too.
Fuel critical.
Oh, you're kidding me. Why is there so many things in this connector? Oh. Alright, I'm gonna have to pick all this stuff up somehow. Alright, well my inventory is finally cleared. I managed to pick up all this stuff. Alright, let's get done repairing this thing. So I'm gonna leave this block free, and I'm gonna get this connector done so that I can withdraw components from here. So what we need first obviously is our conveyor junction. Well actually I don't need to place it, I can just weld it from the blueprint, can't I? Alright, so let's get these 2 things welded up, and then we can get the connector done, and I can use that conveyor port. So we'll grab the component, add that to the build planner. We can use this conveyor port to get this done. And now hopefully I should have enough materials to get this light armor block done, which it doesn't seem like I do, but that's fine. Alright, let's weld this up. Why can't I weld this up? Is there some there's some computers there. That's why it won't let me place it. I thought I didn't have enough components to do it, but it turns out I do. Okay, so now we just need to weld up this block here, and then this turret, and then we need to grind down this turret as well. So I'm going to weld this one up and then grind this one down, and then use the components from this one to weld up this one. Cool, and we are finally done. So as you can see though with the blueprint, this is the one that I've got published to the workshop. So it doesn't have the Warfare 2 DLC edition weapons, it's just got like the vanilla weapons, because I thought, you know, I don't really like making blueprints with mods. So yeah, that's the reason why these guns look a little bit strange, because I replace them with their vanilla variants in the blueprint that I published to the workshop. But apart from that, everything is pretty much the same. So I'm going to grab my mining ship now and just show you roughly what moving this connector forward by 2 blocks actually achieves. And there we have it. So now the ship fits quite nicely, even with those turrets there. Although it is worth noting that you probably don't want to park this ship here while these turrets are trying to fire at an enemy, especially if it is kind of straight ahead. They do kind of miss the side of the ship, so it's not too bad. But I mean, if this turret is trying to fire to something over there, then it's going to hit the ship and it doesn't really care because it's a subgrid. At least, I think it doesn't care. I don't know. I've never actually tested the behavior of a weapon against a ship that's connected via a connector. Like, does it kind of see it as the same grid? Maybe something I should test in a creative world or something like that and kind of find out. Alright, well, let's put this ship back and then we can finally get started on the base, because I don't think there are any more things that I want to do to the Atlas, although I'm sure you guys have figured out by now that that's very unlikely. Alright, well, I suppose it's about time that I go ahead and start thinking about fixing all the damage that the turret did to my own base and that the Reaver did to my tower over there. So, probably going to skip this part because, I mean, you guys have seen me build this thing already, and yeah, I suspect it's going to get pretty boring. So, alright, let's get this thing fixed. Okay, so I've gone ahead and I've repaired this. I've repaired the control tower, which honestly didn't really take me too long. I have to admit though, I've been doing a little bit of thinking, and somebody in the comments mentioned that, you know, the Reavers are a pretty big threat as they are, and that I should probably adjust the range of my guns. If I have a greater range, like these things for example, I think have a range of like 1400 meters or something like that, I guess I may as well use that, because I mean, honestly, these turrets aren't really that strong. I mean, I'm assuming they're about as strong as a regular Gatling turret, so I might as well use this to my advantage. So I think what I will do... Oh, the AI aiming radius is 1400 meters on that. Interesting. I didn't think that was the case. Oh, maybe it's set to 1400 meters on all of these ones then. But yeah, that's going to be my plan. I think I am going to increase the range of these to their maximum. So that's 1.4 kilometers as well. And so is this one. And why is this thing not fixed? Interesting. Is Bob turned on here? Ah, no. Okay, so that's the reason why it's not fixing it, is because I didn't put the materials or any girders in because I didn't think I would need to repair those. Or actually, you know, it was more like an oversight on my part. So let me just fix that one as well. Cool. Alright, so that's now fixed up. Let me just check these turrets here and see if I can adjust the range of these above 800 meters. No, the furthest these will go is 800 meters because these are the vanilla weapons. I am kind of tempted to replace these ones here with the modded weapons, but I don't know. I'll see how I go with that. But I think what I will do is I will adjust the weapons on the Atlas as well, so that when a Reaver does get close, then I can kind of defend myself from a decent distance away. So let me change all these to their maximum, and then we'll see how this pans out in the future. Alright, cool. So the range has been increased on all of these guns, well, at least all of the ones that are modified. So all of these Gatling turrets and these missile launchers actually have a range now of 1800 meters, which is pretty cool. Yeah, like I said, I kind of want every advantage I can get over the Reavers, because they are actually a considerable threat, even with these modded weapons and the build and repair systems that I've got going on. So yeah, it's I think it's kind of justified, but you know, as usual, let me know what you guys think. So now I want to get back to doing things around the base. So there is two things that I need to do that are on my list. Number one is I want to change these airtight hangar doors to the new ones. I believe they're the warfare ones. And then I also want to change the pillars in this room here to the beam blocks like every other room, so these ones here. So I want to change those too. Probably going to need to get up in the roof and change a whole bunch of stuff there as well, like add in some plates behind those. But yeah, that's right. I think first though, I'm gonna get started on these hangar doors because I would like to do that, and I'm probably gonna use my weld ship to do this because, yeah, doing those by hand is an absolute pain, and I don't really want to do that. So, looks like the weld ship is now currently configured as a grind ship. You know, I really should build a second one of these, but honestly, I feel like at this point, this is probably going to be one of the last times I actually use this ship. Because, I mean, I've almost finished with the base, and at some point I'm going to leave this planet and head off into space, and I don't think that is actually too far away. So I might just leave this as one ship for the moment. Maybe later on I might make another one, or maybe I'll make a grinder ship and a welder ship for space, but at least for this kind of scenario, I'll just leave it the way it is. Alright, well, as you guys can see, it really doesn't take long at all to actually fill this ship up. I should really go ahead and turn off that build and repair because, like I said, I only want the build and repair system to be for repairing things, not actually welding stuff up. So let me just turn off the thrusters on this thing, and what's it doing? Interesting. Oh, why are these closing? Ah, that's alright. No worries. Oh, that's interesting. I've never actually seen the doors from this angle. Oh well. Okay, let me withdraw a few steel plates here, and then we'll turn the build and repair system off as well. Alright, well, I got myself a few steel plates, and now I guess we can start thinking about the arrangement for these things. Now, I'm thinking I'll do something very similar to what I've done on the Atlas here, and I'll have them kind of alternating. So maybe we'll have like, I don't know, like the flat ones, then the ones with the window, then the flat ones, then the ones with the window, and so on and so forth, and so on and so forth, until we get to, kind of the same sort of format that we have there. So let's go ahead and start placing these down. I've got enough steel plates on me to place them, but not actually weld them up. Now I just need to find them on my control panel. Alright, here we go. So we shall make them this color. And what do I want? I want the hangar door 2, which is... I can't remember which one that is. I think the hangar door 1 is the smooth one. So where is my midpoint? My midpoint is here. So I think in the middle I'm going to put a windowed one. Now these actually go two different ways. You can kind of see on this side you've got like this little bit here, and then on this side you've got that little bit there. So I think in the middle we'll have a window, and then we'll kind of alternate that design there. So we'll go one of those, then another one of those, then another one, and then another one, and then here we'll have a window, and then over there I'll have another one of these flat ones. So then we will flip this thing around, do the same over here, same over here, and then here, and then we need to grind some more out. So in the meantime though, I'll place in the ones with a window. I don't want a conveyor. What am I picking a conveyor for? So we want the one with a window. Now I don't believe these go either way. Oh, they kind of do. So I think what I'll do is I'll place this bit on the inside. So we'll place one there, one there, one there, and I'm just going to have to place this one in that orientation because it is the middle block, so it doesn't really matter which way I place it. Let's place one of those there, and then those there. Alright, so let's get these things welded up. Now, potentially I could weld these things up by hand, but I guess we'll see what happens. I'm wondering though, do they actually have a different component list since one is a window? No, they're exactly the same. Oh, brilliant. Alright, so I will just queue up 8 of these on my build planner and we shall get to welding. I could potentially just put a welder on the front of the ship, but I don't want to be grinding and welding welders and grinders on the front of this ship like 10,000 times. So yeah, that's kind of not what I want to do. Alright, cool. So they are all done. That actually looks really nice, hey. I'm really happy with how that looks. It fits with this whole beam design so much better than what the other hangar doors had done. I just realized I'm missing a block here. I never actually put that block in. Alright, let us quickly fix that then. So this hangar door here though on the side, yeah, now it's closing. I was thinking maybe I didn't set that right. So you see what it did there? I actually had to leave one block behind because what I wanted to do was keep the group so that I could add all of these to the group, then grind that one away, and then add the new one and then add that to the group so that I don't have to mess around with these sensors and timer blocks all over again and create new groups. So yeah, that's the reason why I missed that last one and then did that later. So alright, let's dock this ship up and then we can get started with the next thing. Okay, now my ship is docked up, so well, I should probably turn the lights off. Ah, that's alright. I'll just leave them on. I might, yeah, you know what? I am actually going to turn the lights off and the thrusters, so... Okay, so what I want to do next is something that I've been meaning to do for quite a while. Now, I was talking a long time ago about doing a shooting range, and I think that's what I want to do next. Now, I was honestly thinking about doing this, this upgrade to the control room that sits in front of the Nomad next. But, you know, I've spent quite a few episodes doing all that stuff, and I'm sure you guys have seen me do it so many times, so I think maybe today we'll do something a little bit more exciting than that, and trying to come up with a design for this shooting range. Now, I have kind of come up with a few ideas, but I'll just kind of discuss those. Actually, I think the shooting range is upstairs, isn't it? Yeah, it is. That's right. So that's the refinery. And I always say I never get lost in this place, but yeah, it turns out I actually do. Alright, well, let's get the elevator and yeah, we'll catch that up to the next floor. Alright, so here we are on the next floor. At some point I would like to put some numbers here to kind of indicate which floor you're actually on. Do I actually have them on my hotbar? No, I don't think I do, so that's alright. I'll show you guys that later. But yeah, I would like to put some numbers on these doors so that I actually know which floor I'm on. Or other people that are visiting know which floor they're on. Now, I'm thinking what I'm going to do for this room is... That's right, I forgot I added all these little bits and pieces. Now, I want a shooting range to obviously be at the end of this room here. But I'm thinking I might make it like one block taller than this room, because this room is not really that tall, and I guess I would like to have a shooting range a bit taller than that. And then also, I think I want it about one block wider, or maybe I make it about the same width as what this one is. So how wide is this? This is like what, one, or nah, this is pretty much the width here. So we got 1, 2, and then yeah, 3 blocks there. So it's about 5 blocks wide. So I'm thinking maybe I'll go like 7 blocks wide for the shooting range. And then I'm thinking probably 3 blocks tall, because this is what, I believe this actually is 3 blocks. So yeah, this is 3 blocks. So maybe I'll go like 4 blocks or something like that. And instead of having a door here, I'm just going to have this entire patch here just totally open to the atmosphere. So we'll grind these out. So essentially what I'll do is I will have this opening here, and then I will put some blocks here. And then I'll kind of replicate the design a little bit of this room and make the shooting range about the same as that. I'm not going to make the shooting range like kind of similar to this room over here, for example. This is probably a bad example because there's things like up against the wall in between the pillars. But normally there would be just a flat wall here with my pillars going downwards. I don't know if that's kind of the design that I want to go with. When I think of a shooting range, I'm thinking, you know, it needs to be like kind of a long room. And it is going to be long, but at the same time, I want it to look long. Like these rooms, because you've got all these things going horizontally, they don't really look like they're long rooms. Whereas I think what I want to do is kind of replicate the design that I've got going on in this room here. And then also in this room here, where you've got these long bars on the sides here, these ones, and then also you've got this long bar in the middle that goes all the way across to the end. And maybe I can put some sort of ribbing effect there in between this and this, just to make it look a little bit more interesting. So, alright, well the first thing I need to do is kind of dig this whole thing out. Now I've already figured out roughly how big I want to make this room, and it's going to be about, yeah, 23 blocks long or 24 blocks long internally. So I'm going to make a template that's about 22 blocks long by 9 blocks, and then by whatever height I want, plus an extra block so that I've got room to run my conveyors. And then we can project that into this mountain and then start getting this thing drilled out, which is probably going to take me a little while. So, all right, let's go and build the template. Alright, so I've got the template or the drill guide roughed out. So as you can see, well, I mean you can't really see it, but it's 22 blocks long, it is 5 blocks tall, and it is 9 blocks wide. Now I've decided to make the room as tall as the armory, which is 3 blocks. But if you can kind of imagine, my floor will kind of be here, and then I'll have 3 blocks, so we'll have 1, 2, 3 blocks, and then my roof will kind of occupy this space. So if I was to drill out here, then I wouldn't have any space up above to add in like all the conveyor systems and things for the the air vents and all that sort of jazz. So I always try and make a an additional block at the top, just so that I've got room for all my conveyor system and that. It just makes it so much easier to lay it down. So here at the front though, okay, so if that there is my floor, then this here will be where the cutout point is. Alright, so I need to put some blocks here like this. It's so strange because normally I would place a block here, because the floor would be like a block underneath where you walk in the room. That's kind of the traditional style that I've done most of the rooms in. I suppose, you know, I could do something like that in this room, but I don't think I want to. I think I want to kind of make it the same level. Actually, it might actually be cool to have a floating catwalk as kind of a platform to shoot from. No, that's right. We'll figure it out. I'm just going to make it this way, and then we'll see how we go with this. So now I've just got to grab this template and then project that through the mountain, and then we can start drilling this thing out. So let's create a blueprint of this. So I will name this, let's rename this to the drill guide, and then shooting range. So let's name it that, and then let's project this through the mountain and see how it looks. Alright, so after a fair bit of messing around, I got this thing finally lined up. As you can see, these are the 3 blocks that I put on the front of the blueprint. And then, as you can see, you know, there's no blocks here, here, here. So that's how I know that this thing is lined up properly. So now all we got to do is simply, well, not so simply, but more so simply and time-consumingly, drill this stuff out. Alright, so I've finally finished drilling this thing out. It actually took me quite a while to drill this out. So I was going to start designing the room, but then I kind of realized I don't have a conveyor system coming into this room apart from up the top here. And I don't know if I really want to go up there to collect resources to get all this stuff welded up. And the other thing is too, that I am going to use, where are these? Yeah, this block here, the target dummy. It took me actually a while to find that. So I'm going to be placing some of those, and as far as I know, the way that those things work is that if you have them hooked up to a conveyor system, then they'll kind of self-repair themselves. So I kind of need to put a conveyor system in underneath this room and coming into this shooting range anyway, so I may as well just go ahead and run the pipe now, and then just slap a cargo container down here so that I can get all this stuff built reasonably quickly. Okay, cool. So got my conveyor system and cargo container sorted. Now we can start designing this room. So I think first I'll start off by laying down the floor. Now, I think maybe at some point I might actually start... I might use some sci-fi interior walls in this room, but for the moment, I'm just going to use these blocks for now. And then I guess we'll see how we go with that. So just got to place all these blocks down. Now I can't remember... how wide do I need to make it? Alright, so I need to make it 1 extra block wider like this. So essentially, the room is going to look exactly the same as this one, with this block here, this block, and that block. All these blocks here will basically be in the same positions, but they'll just be like 1 block wider. So I think I need to run my floor blocks to this point. But anyway, let's... get all these placed down and weld these all up. Alright, so that is now the entire floor done. It actually didn't take me too long, it was pretty quick. So now let's get started with this whole area. So here I'm going to add in an extra block spacing, like I said. So we'll add in a block spacing here, make this one that color, and then from here I want to go one block further out. So in fact I want to place a block there and there and there, and then probably here as well. Then we'll grab these blocks here, and these will go along the top. Now previously there were 3, but now there is going to be 4. Then there will be one of these blocks here, and then the same on the other side. And let me just get my bearings on the design on this side so that I can kind of figure this out. Okay, so from there we have a whole bunch of blocks on the top, and then they go to some 2x1 slopes. So we want just our regular cubed blocks, put them all the way along here like this, and then on top of these we'll have these blocks here. Now, like I mentioned before though, I want to make this pillar here in the middle, but so there's 2 ways I could do this. Well, I guess there's 2 ideas I have, I would say. So the first idea is that I put one here, and then I put one here, and then I put one here. But honestly, I think it would look strange having these lots of sharp edges on the roof, and I don't think it would look that great. So I think instead what I'll do is I'll have one big pillar across the top, but then I'll angle it on the sides here. So what we'll do is I'll place in these blocks here. So I'll place in these like that, and then I'll grab my, these blocks with just the little corner cut out, or the little side cut out, and we'll place 3 along there like that, and then across the top I'll just have my half blocks like I've got in the actual armory itself. So we'll place a whole bunch of these across, and they'll basically go all the way to the end. Probably not that far, but you know, that'll kind of do for now. And then I'll place in, I guess I could place it like this, and then we could grab one of these ones and go like that, and then put in our blocks that kind of go like this all the way across the top. And like I said, I'm not exactly sure where I want to end them just yet. I have to kind of figure out exactly how many blocks I want, because I want the room to be like odd, so that, is it odd or even? I don't know with these rooms. Sometimes they can be even, sometimes they can be odd, depending on what you want to do. So, and then obviously up here, I want to add all my blocks along the top. So very similar to what I've got in this room here. But in this room, I probably want to go ahead and do something a little bit different to that. So I'll just leave the roof for now, and then we'll kind of figure out the design for that in a little bit. But on the sides here, I know at least I want to place these ones here like this, next to these 2x1 bases. And then I want to grab these blocks here and run these all the way along. So we'll run these all the way along the wall like this. And we'll do the same on the other side as well. So let's just place all these down like that. Now, I want to break up the wall a little bit, because you know, in this armory, it's a very short room, and you know, having all these weapon cabinets here kind of breaks up the wall a little bit. So that's something that I want to do, although I'm not exactly sure which design I'm going to go for in that regard. But first what I'll do is I'll place some blocks here behind these ones, and I'll weld these up so that, you know, everything kind of attaches to something nicely. So put those blocks in there like that, and then here we'll place in one of these blocks. Place that there, then we'll place that one there, and then here this one's a little bit different to this side. So obviously this block here is not going to be able to kind of be here, if that makes sense. So here I'm going to have to place a block in basically there. So we'll just kind of go ahead and do that. And then here I'll probably go ahead and place in a block like this. Maybe I might make this a bit, this gap here a bit wider, so it's not like so, looks so restrictive. And I might even get rid of these shelves as well, because they're kind of, yeah, they look like they're kind of in the way. So yeah, I might get rid of them at some point as well. Alright, so I'll just weld up a couple of blocks here so that I can continue building. Alright, so I've welded up a few of the blocks here so we can kind of get a better idea of at least how this entrance looks, and maybe I'll weld up some of these as well, and then we can get a bit of a better idea on how this looks too. But yeah, so essentially that's what it is going to kind of look like. So we'll have...
Energy low.
Yeah, oh yeah, I know, my energy's low. Sue me. So yeah, that's essentially what it's going to look like. Like I said, I want to break up these walls a little bit. Not exactly sure how I am going to achieve that, but I guess we'll just have to kind of wait and see. One thing I am sure about is that I kind of designed this room in my head with 5 sets of pillars. I think I am going to put some pillars on the walls. But then I might add some interesting details between the pillars. So the question is, where do I actually start these pillars? I think it's probably about 2 blocks from this point here. So we've got 1, 2, and then we start a pillar here. So we'll have our pillars, if I can find them. Yeah, so these blocks, I'll probably go with the half pillars for now. I probably should put something behind these, but that's alright, we'll get around to that in a bit. Wait, are these the... is that dark grey? Interesting. Then we have 2 block spacing, then we have another pillar like that, another 2 blocks, another pillar, another 2 blocks, another pillar, another 2 blocks, another pillar, and so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pillars. Okay, so then we have 2 blocks from there. We have our 2x1 bases, which will be these blocks here. So I'll place 2 of these like that, and then we'll just follow this line and then spin them around. Probably not the most efficient way to do that, but I will. And then I'll grind all this stuff back, because we don't need all this stuff. And then I believe here, these will be these light armor inverted corner bases. Man, some of the block names this day and age in Space Engineers are getting so long that you need a dictionary just to pronounce them. But you know, at least they're adding new blocks, new blocks to the game. So I honestly can't complain too much. All right, I want to make these blocks this color, and this is just going to kind of allow me to figure out the dimensions of this thing, because I still want to know where I can place stuff. Alright, so let's weld up these 2 like kind of pillar towers. Okay, so they're done
Energy
now.
Critical.
So at this point I need to grab which block is it? I believe it is this one again. So we place that. Is it like that? No, sorry, that's 1 block lower. It goes down here, so we place that just like that. Man, these controls, they're trolling me today. And then we just place our blocks across like this, and that one's embedded in the wall. Let me just get rid of that one. That was pretty spot on placement there. Then we just run a line of blocks along here like this. And then from there, we grab our 2x1 bases. So 1 there, 1 there, 1 there, 1 there. And then I grab the 3 of these things. 1 there, 1 there, 1 there. Get rid of this and that. And then place in our block that kind of bridges the gap between those 2. So that would be this one here. So, okay, now we've got the kind of like the sides of the room kind of sorted out. I need to put in obviously my wall here. I'm just about to die from lack of energy in a minute, but that's alright. We shall survive. So, okay, maybe what I'll do is I will get the wall placed down, get all this stuff welded up, and then we can talk about the design for the roof. Alright, cool. So that was a good, like, I don't know, 2,500 steel plates. Actually, it didn't take me too long to do that. I put these blocks here as a placeholder to where I need to put my pillars. So what we're going to do now is actually start thinking about this roof. First of all, though, I should probably put in these tips here. So we'll just quickly do that, put in these tips, get these welded up, grind that one away. Alright, so we got our tips. Now what I'm going to do is place a line of blocks along the top here. So I'll probably go back here, just even though I don't really need to, but I probably will anyway. So we'll place a whole line of blocks along here, and then along here too. Just basically all the way along. Now, what I'd done in the armory is I just made this like one flat piece, and it's... Honestly, you can do that. It doesn't look too bad. But as I mentioned before, it's kind of like one of those things where the room is so short that, you know, it has enough detail in it that you can kind of get away with having a flat, really flat roof and it doesn't look overly boring. But in this circumstance, now that the roof is like, you know, 23, 24, or however many blocks long it is, it's going to really look that, you know, just pretty terrible. So alright, well, I'm going to weld these parts up and then I shall be back. Okay, so that is all of these blocks done. So now we can start with the roof. So yeah, I'm guessing you guys can probably imagine what I'm going to do next. Now we'll go ahead and we'll place our pillars back in, and there we go. So what I'm going to do here is, like I said, I think I mentioned this before, but I want some ribbing effect happening. So what I'm going to do is use kind of the same design that I had before in the other rooms, with the pillars, and then also the roof kind of going in on itself. So here I'm going to have a block like this, and then here like that, and then so on and so forth, so that we'll place these blocks down and I'll spin them around, and we'll just do the one side for now. And then we can do the other side later. And then on this side, I'll have these blocks like this. So we'll place all of these in. Like so. And then we'll have our pillars. and they will be this dark grey, and they will kind of go along the wall like this. Actually, no. I have kind of messed this up. It should be the other way around. I guess we could kind of see how it looks like that. Nah, you know, oh no. That's alright, alright. Let's grind all these out and put them the right way, shall we? Okay, so I went ahead and fixed up my little mistake there. Whoops, I fully thought they were the other way. That's what happens when you have little sleep and you are staying up late. Okay, so then here obviously we're going to have our beam blocks that go like so. And it's kind of similar to the other room, but it's at the same time it's kind of not. So we have this nice long piece down the middle, and then we have a little bit of an effect happening on the roof so the room doesn't look so boring. I could honestly just yeah, so and then I want to do something with the wall to make that a little bit interesting. I suppose I could go ahead and maybe replace these bottom blocks here with maybe something like this. So we could go like these blocks like that. But I don't know if that's really going to match up very well with what's happening on the top. I reckon that just looks weird. See, if the room was if the wall was back by one block, then I could probably get away with that. I reckon that would look pretty sweet. But just with the bottoms kind of poking out, it doesn't really look that great. Would be nice if I had something that kind of went halfway. But unfortunately I don't. So I think for the moment, I'm just going to stick with this kind of setup. So just like the half blocks. And then we can just weld it up and see how it looks after that. So, alright, well, let me go ahead and complete this for the other sides. Then we'll weld up these pillars. And then perhaps we can put in some lighting at the same time. Okay, so that is pretty much everything done. So I think that actually doesn't look too bad. This bottom portion here does kind of bother me a little bit. I wish I could get some more shape to it, because even though I've got these bits here, these pillars kind of make everything look straight. So maybe I could use something like one of these pillars here, like just the 2x1 tips. But the problem with these is, and I really wish it wasn't the case with these ones, no, it's not that one, it's this one here. There just really isn't much shape to this thing. Like, there's no structure in the middle, so it just kind of looks like a a blank slate, so to speak. So not really terribly keen on that idea either. I guess actually, you know, another thing I could do is maybe grind this block out, grind that out there, and then perhaps we could have like so let me just drill this out quickly and we can kind of demonstrate this, but I'm kind of running out of time, so I won't spend too much time on this for the moment. But essentially what I could do is maybe something like this. We can grab one of these blocks and then one of these tips here like this, and then from there we can just run a standard old square block. So we could do maybe something like that. And I don't know, that actually doesn't look half bad. Really not sure. I'm gonna have to think about that one some more. What I am sure about though is where to put these lights. Whoops, I missed 2 blocks here. So what I'll do is I'll put some lights here. So I believe because we've got 5 pillars, we should have 6
Energy
positions to put
low.
lights. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep, so what we'll do is I'll withdraw some interior lights here. I'll make them this dark grey colour, and then I think, where do I place them? I think I'll place them here on this block. Is that where I want to place them? Or do I want to place them there? So we've got, if I place them there, then there's 3 blocks in between the nearest light, and if I place them there, then there's like 1, 2. Yeah, I think here would be the best place to put these lights. So we'll place one there, and then on this inner edge, on the first 3 rows, and then from there, we'll place 1, 2, and then 3 like that. So then we'll just kind of replicate this across all of the other pillars, and then we should be done. Okay, so now all of our lights are done. I'm going to grind away this seat that's up here, and we might as well just get rid of this projector while we're at it. And I'll just place in my seat here so that I can see what I'm doing when I'm trying to set up these lights. Yes, I know you can use Build Vision to do this, but honestly, for editing like 20 lights all at once, even though you do have the copy and paste feature available in Build Vision, I think it's still a lot easier to go through the control panel, select them all, and then change them all at once. So, you know, we're going to go with the standard 190, 215 that you guys might have seen before. We'll go with 15 meters here. Whoa. That's, okay. Maybe we'll go with 11. I do know the intensity is quite high, so we'll dial that back. Fall off, we'll go 2.0. And then, voila. I think that actually looks pretty decent. So, yeah, I'm like... I'm sure you guys can spot what I've done wrong here, but... how did I do that again? Oh man. Alright, so yeah, I've got to change over this side to to look the same as this side. I did it again. How did I do that again? Man, I can't believe it. That's... well, you know, that is pretty funny. Actually, while I'm thinking about this, I know, I can't help myself here. Let's go with maybe one of these blocks. So we'll spin that beast around, and then we'll place in a tip like that. And then we could weld that up, and how's that look? Yeah, that doesn't look too bad actually. That was kind of the look that I wanted to go with. So I may change it to that in the next episode. But anyway, guys, that's pretty much all I've got time for. In between the next episode and this one, I will go ahead and rectify my mistake that I still can't believe I made twice in a row. So I'll fix that, and then we can think about setting up some additional lighting in this room. Also, I need to think about what I'm going to do with the target dummies. I was recently looking at the shooting range in the Sparks of the Future DLC that you can download from Keen Software's website or their workshop page. And I noticed they had a couple of really cool things like pop-up turrets, not pop-up turrets, pop-up targets and targets that kind of move side to side. So they're definitely some of the things that I want to get happening, and maybe we can have a big button here that we press the button and then all the targets start moving around, and maybe this one pops up, then this one pops up a couple seconds later, and so on and so forth. So yeah, that's I'm actually quite excited for that. There's a lot of work to do in this room, and yeah, there's definitely going to be a lot of timer block logic behind that. So anyway, guys, really hope you enjoyed the episode, and I hope to see you in the next one. If you did like this episode, definitely consider leaving a like, and don't forget to subscribe so that you get notified every time I release a new video. Alright guys, I will see you next time.